All right, guys, it's Football Friday. Eagles, Giants, divisional round is almost here. We're less than 36 hours from kickoff. I'm excited. Dylan's excited. Can't wait to get going. That's all we're talking today on Trending in the AM that starts in 30 seconds.
Holding gets around in front.
And Philadelphia has it.
And a very good morning, everybody. What's crack-a-lackin'? This is Trending in the AM right here on DSM Media. We're live, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. You know the drill. Like, share, retweet, follow on all social media platforms. But do us that favor and make sure if you want to get interactive with the show, you head over to the DSM Media YouTube page. Hit that like, that subscribe button, turn the notifications on. It is the best place to get interactive with the show as we are already jumping in here. We got Freddie, go Eagles, my man. We got Mark checking in. They're going to blow out the Giants, he thinks, right from the get-go here. Drop those comments in the comment sections, your thoughts, your questions, your concerns, as we've got lots to talk about as we finally wrap up our coverage of this Eagles-Giants game. I am Phil Stifle, your host. We got Dylan Davis, man. How you doing this morning, my man?
What's crack-a-lackin', everybody? I'm good, Phil. A little tired. Stayed up for the Sixers game last night. But
if there's 3 minutes at the end of the show, maybe I'll let you talk a little Sixers because
we'll devote it to that. Yeah,
it was the first quarter when I passed out last night. So
yeah,
I got to save my energy because it's Eagles, it's Giants, it's divisional round of the playoffs. We were just talking right before we went live. Like right now, it's like the same thing that was going on with the Sixers, just a different story. When the Phillies were making their deep run into the playoffs, the Eagles were coming out red hot. The Sixers took the back page. Now the Eagles are in the playoffs, and the Sixers are taking a back page again, except right now the Sixers are actually playing some pretty good basketball. Right. But, the Sixers can't crack into the news cycle right now here in Philly.
No, can't catch a break, positive or negative for them. But hopefully that lasts for another month or so. Or a little longer than a month, right?
What's that going to be? 1, 2, 3.
Well, less than a month, whatever.
It's 4 weeks from the Super. We're about 4 weeks away from the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'm losing track of time over here, but about a month longer for the Sixers to be second fiddle here in Philadelphia, and then
it'll be right after the trade deadline. Then we could dive into the Sixers every single day.
Then it gets real. Yep.
All right, so let's start actually with this. Dylan, crush these guys that think the Giants are going to win. So yesterday, guys, Dylan tweeted out last night, I desperately need this Giants are hot narrative to stop. Before beating the Vikings, they are 3-6-1 since week 8. Is it really because they played last week while the Eagles rested? Dylan, this hype train that the nation is on this Giants team. First off, and you put that out. I put out a tweet yesterday saying, first it was that the Vikings stink and we beat a bad Vikings team. And then there was the Giants beat this great Vikings team. So when we beat the Giants, it's no big deal, or the Vikings, it's no big deal. But the Giants did it, so it's this huge deal. What is going on with the narrative nationally that this Giants team all of a sudden, because of one win, it's not like they're even on a 2-game winning streak. They've got a 1-game streak of wins right now. What is going on with this narrative here?
It's crazy how the goalposts continue to move. Like you said, first the Vikings were a bad team when we beat them and when we blew them out. All of a sudden, now it's this miraculous big upset that the Giants pulled off last weekend when the Eagles beat the Giants. Like, it's the fan base is becoming as nauseating as Dallas Cowboy fans at this point. All I see on social, it's not TikTok, social media, Instagram. It's Giant podcasters. It's everything. The Giants are hot. That's why they're going to win this game. They're not better than the Eagles. They're just hot. Like, they're 3-6-1 since week 8, Phil. Not they're on a little bit of a losing streak since week 12. Since week 8, they are an below 500 team before this Minnesota win. The Giants are a very well-coached team. Brian Daboll belongs in all of the head coach of the year candidacy conversations. We know that. I understand their defense is fully healthy for the first time all year. They don't do anything great defensively. They're middle of the pack against the run. They're well below average against the pass. Yes, Daniel Jones played the Game of his career last week. Yes.
But who did he play that game of the year against?
Exactly. Well, and here's the funny part. He also, his second best game of the year, do you know when that was? Christmas Eve against the same Vikings team. His numbers against the Vikings this year compared to every other week this season are astronomically different. I wish I had the screenshot still. The numbers are crazy. So to come in here and act like he's going to do that against this Eagles defense, which, listen, I know Giants fans over the last week or so have loved to throw out the idea that the Eagles barely beat their backups when they needed to clinch the 1 seed, as if it wasn't 48-22 when the Giants were fully staffed. Guess where, Phil? Was that 48-22 win at the Link? No. That was on the road. That was without Dallas Goedert, Avonte Maddox, and C.J. Gardner-Johnson as well. The goalposts continue to move. The Giants.
Can I ask you a really serious question here? Because we've talked about this topic like at least a dozen times this year on this show, and it's that the narratives change to clickbait for Philly because it's Philly is the passionate fan base, the Giants fan base not as passionate probably. Is the national media lying to themselves just to get the Philly fan base uproaring and talking about them? Because I want to talk, like, I will get into it in a second, but, you know, Dan Orlovsky, did you see the video I shared yesterday?
Yeah.
Him breaking down Isaiah Hodges' touchdown against the Vikings. And it's like, I actually do love Dan Orlovsky, you know, Ryan Clark, that whole NFL Live crew. They do a great job breaking down film and talking strategy. But him he's doing it, and he's breaking down the film the right way, but he's trying to say that the Vikings defense is on par with the Eagles defense there. And if the Eagles defense plays like that, was that Dan Orlovsky's attempt at clickbait and the rest of the national media clickbait by trying to sell the nation that the Giants have a chance? Or do people really buy into this Giants team?
See, in a situation,
I can't see it. Like, I would actually be more scared this week if we were facing the Vikings than I am the Giants.
I agree with you. It's tough in a situation when it's a guy like Dan Orlovsky, like you said, who's greatly more respected than, like, if I'm just throwing out a name, if obviously a Skip Bayless-esque type person tweeted out how, you know, this Eagles defense is similar to the Vikings defense, people would have a field day with it. So it's hard to know if it's clickbait, viewership, Philly-driven narrative, or if this is actually what he believes. I understand schematically that on that specific play where they allowed a touchdown might be a little bit of what Gannon likes to do over the middle of the field with his linebackers and safeties. Possibly. The talent differential, the talent gap from the Vikings defense to the Eagles defense is not even close. And again, Phil, I'm sorry. Like, why are we acting like we haven't seen this movie before? Mm-hmm. Why are we acting like the Eagles did not mano-a-mano, man-to-man, this defense play this Giants offense a few short weeks ago? Like, we don't know what the possible outcome could be. If they play this style of defense, this same thing's going to happen. No, it's not, because it didn't happen a few weeks ago. I'm not saying things won't be different. That's not my point. My point is we've seen this before. The Eagles are a much more talented defense than the Minnesota Vikings personnel-wise. Do they do a little bit schematically the same over the middle of the field with that soft zone? Yes, at times. And the last thing, Phil, you know why Daniel Jones was so successful against the Vikings on Sunday afternoon? There was no pass rush. Right. That's not going to happen on tomorrow night.
To touch on that play that Dan Orlovsky shared, and I would love to share it, but every time I share somebody's clips, we get, you know, flagged and whatever. Everybody else shares shit. Nobody gets flagged. Me, when I share something, we get flagged. I don't know what's crack-a-lack in there with that whole situation. Sorry, little inside joke between me and Dylan here. But on that play, first off, you mentioned the pass rush. Daniel Jones had like 40 seconds to drop back and wait for Isaiah Hodges to make 17 moves against nobody. That's the first thing. Second thing, on that play, their left tackle jumped early. Flag wasn't called on that play, just so you know. And the head ref this weekend for the Eagles, I forget his name, we're 13-1. I like to throw that out there in games that he has reffed for the Eagles team. Little side note there. Also on that play, we're going to have Darius Slay or James Bradbury guarding Isaiah Hodges. I don't even know who the starting cornerback on the right side for the Vikings is. I don't want to know. I don't care. And if it's not Slay or Bradbury, you're going to have Blankenship and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson covering the middle of the field, and Marcus Epps, actually. Marcus Epps has laid some really vicious hits, especially on giant wide receivers.
Right.
So that whole middle of the field, yes, schematically might be open, but just think about it. Slay, Bradbury, and Johnson, all three of them are better than any 10 guys combined that the Vikings could throw out there. And the Vikings rushed 4 guys on that play. Our 4 front guys will beat that 5 offensive line every single time to the quarterback, in my opinion. There's no – I mean, how many times did we sack Daniel Jones in the first game? 7 times? 8 times? Yeah. I mean, how many sacks? I got the Vikings-Giants box score up here. Let me see if the
3.
Vikings, they had 3 sacks?
Yeah.
All right, so that's actually more than I would have thought they had. But, I mean, it's just a totally different class and totally different ball game, in my opinion.
They're not – it's not even in the same realm. It's opposite ends of the spectrum here with these two defenses. Why are we acting? Listen, I know there's a lot of Jonathan Gannon absolute haters out there, and I'm not saying that I won't be a tad bit happy if he accepts a head coaching job and we get a little bit of change here next season. Okay. But why are we acting as if this defense has not been top 5 in X amount of categories throughout the entire season, no matter of injuries, turnovers, sacks? The Vikings defense is garbage. Statistically, literally, eye test, they're bad. The Eagles are not. So to compare these two, if you want to compare one specific play where the Vikings let up a touchdown over the middle of the field and say, well, the Eagles run a similar style defense to this play, and if they do this, they're in trouble. Man, if that's the one thing you're going to pull and say this is your hope for the Giants fans, good luck. Like if that's what you're going to try to do.
I was going back and watching some highlights and studying up on that Giants-Vikings game. And I mean, honestly, for everything that everybody's hyping up about the Giants, it was still a close game. And on top of that, I mean, you look at it, it wasn't like the Vikings, like, because Freddie Defoe's bringing up what the Vikings gave up to Indy. And I know we almost lost to Indy, but our defense was able to shut down. It was just one of those, hard fought Indy, close games. It wasn't like
they gave up what, 17 or 16?
The Vikings were down 33-0 against an Indianapolis Colts team.
Yeah.
The Eagles weren't down 33-0 to any 2 teams combined this year. So that's first. Secondly, considering that this was a close game for the Vikings, I would blame, and I think the offensive coordinator was fired in Minnesota, wasn't he? Or he walked away yesterday. He either walked away or was fired yesterday. I mean, in a game that's close, why is Kirk Cousins and the Vikings throwing the ball 40 times to 15 rushes from Dalvin Cook? Even their backup running back, Madison, didn't even have a carry in that game. So maybe it wasn't necessarily even the talent differential there. It was just bad coaching by the Vikings. Bad game plan. If we were Vikings fans today, we'd be bashing the Vikings coaching staff for the game plan that they put in. We would probably not even be bashing Kirk Cousins as our number one problem. Yeah, he's a problem. He can't win the big game. He can't, win the playoffs or on Monday Night Football. But you set him up for failure by making him throw 40 times to 15 run plays.
Yeah, Kirk Cousins was not really the problem in this game. He was 31 of 39, threw for over 300 yards, did not turn the ball over. His number one wide receiver, I don't know whether that was play calling and I don't know why you don't just force the ball to Justin Jefferson at one point. I understand it's not a great idea late in the game if there's bracket coverage on the outside as the Giants were running a lot, but how do you not draw something up for that caliber of player to just try to get him the ball in space? Like, as an Eagles fan, if they were able to take away A.J. Brown this week, it's a little less for us when you have other guys like Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert, but you would still expect Sirianni and Steichen to draw things up to get him the ball by design, which Minnesota just did not do. So to me, it does go back to play calling. And like you said, it's something Scotty and I have talked about on Turf Talk all year long, and it's a trap that I don't believe the Eagles are going to fall into, although we do see Sirianni and Steichen fall in love with the pass early. Teams not wanting to run the football, man. You just laid it out. In a 1-possession game, in a 3-point game, how do you run the ball 15 times to over 40 passes?
I don't know.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they've done it all year long where Tom Brady's thrown 55 times. Tom Brady threw the ball 66 times the other night. Now, I know they got blown out. What about when it was 12-0? You didn't find it a good idea to slow the game down and run the ball? Teams fall in love with the pass early. And guess what, Phil? Statistically, historically in the playoffs, teams that win the rushing battle win the game.
Playoff football, so it's running the football, it's
Stopping
defense,
the run.
It's controlling the clock. We always talk about it in basketball. When the playoffs come, you shrink your rotation, you slow the game down. The same thing happens in the playoffs, unless you're Buffalo versus Cincinnati and you're just duking it out in Kansas City and you're duking it out for every 2 minutes scoring a touchdown. But you mentioned the Justin Jefferson thing and the Eagles having other options. Well, the Vikings do, and Justin Jefferson had 9 targets, but the guy that ended up being open, T.J. Hawkinson, ended up with 10 catches on 11 targets. And I think that's a really you said this yesterday, and we'll get back to this in a second. I told you yesterday, I 100% agree with you on that. We'll get into it in a second. T.J. Hawkinson and what he was able to do. And T.J. Hawkinson's a very good tight end, don't get me wrong. But on talent-wise, health-wise, it's a different situation because he's not always healthy, and he misses time every year. But Dallas Goedert is a better, talented tight end than T.J. Hawkinson. Sure. And he can stretch the field. So if T.J. Hawkinson can catch 10 passes for 129 yards, if A.J. Brown's locked down, Dallas Goedert having a huge game is one of the big keys for me this week, that he should be able to maneuver that middle, the tight end screen that works well, all those things. And he's got that burst. Once he catches that 12-yard pass, he's not going to go right down like T.J. Hawkinson does. So I could foresee a huge game from Dallas Goedert this week.
No, I 110% agree with you. Dallas Goedert or Devontae Smith. I know all eyeballs go to options. Right. I know all eyeballs go to A.J. Brown. And listen, I'm not saying he might be the best player he might be the best football player on this Eagles team. I know everyone's eyes go to Jalen Hurts, and rightfully so, but A.J. Brown is right there next tier, right?
Right.
And I know he's got big playability against the New York Giants, a la like he did in Week 18. But to me, I do agree with you. I think the Giants are going to try to take away that focal point of A.J. Brown and make someone else beat you. And the Eagles just have too many guys that can do so. The last comment by a Philly Eagles fan is what I spoke on last night a little bit. And it's probably my biggest key to the game, which we'll obviously discuss tomorrow. But time of possession and controlling the turnover battle is everything in this game, because as long as you don't, it goes back to Washington. For every situation the Eagles have either lost this year or found themselves in a difficult situation late in the game, time of possession has been against them greatly. And it's almost like the offense in Sirianni, they get sporadic and they don't know what to do. And there's no rhythm and flow to the play calling and to the offense when it's 22 minutes to the opponent and 7 minutes to 8 minutes to the Eagles. So time of possession and the turnover battle is everything.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the box score from the 48-22 Eagles smoking of the Giants.
Yeah.
Week 13. And A.J. Brown only had 4 catches.
Right.
Devontae Smith had 8 targets, 5 catches. Your 2 backup tight ends, Calcaterra and Stahl, had a combined 4 catches for 44 yards and 6 targets. Quez Watkins had 4 catches. They obviously ran the ball very effectively in that game. But also, I mean, you look at it, it was actually 31-31 rushes to passes. So they ran a balanced style.
It was perfect.
And yes, A.J. Brown was shut down to an extent. 4 catches, 70 yards, and a touchdown.
He had that big turnover.
I mean,
touchdown, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a pretty solid box score, but,
right.
It's not A.J. Brown level.
Right.
So the Dallas Goedert, the secondary options are key. But, yes, running the ball. And my man, Mr. Crackalack and Miles Sanders right there. I think that was 3 times so far.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you're keeping track. He is better than Saquon Barkley at this point in his career. And I brought this up on yesterday's show, Dylan. I'd love to ask you your thoughts on this. I know Saquon Barkley gets the flash, and he's the flashy name. He's the big name. But Miles Sanders, in my opinion, at Penn State was held back by Saquon Barkley. Obviously, he was behind him. If Saquon Barkley was never there, Miles Sanders would have had a long, storied career at Penn State. I think there's more talent there, Miles Sanders. He just hasn't had the ability to stay healthy for a full season and not have turnovers and not have issues and not be, the focal point of an offense. And now because of the knee injury, I would take Miles Sanders over Saquon Barkley if I was building my football team right now.
post serious injuries now for Saquon, like your last point was the biggest one. If you were starting your team today, who would you rather have? All things considered, age, injury, all that. I guess you would lean Miles Sanders just because of the injury scare and the long-term injury scare you could have with Saquon. In terms of prime, in terms of who's better when they're both healthy, I can't get behind Booby being better than Saquon.
The thing is, Miles Sanders has been with the Eagles his whole career now, 4 years.
Yeah.
And we've been talking about it for 4 years now. This team does not run the ball enough. They don't keep a balanced offense enough. The Giants have, since day one, fed Saquon the ball. So I don't know the numbers. I'm just ballparking and guessing. I bet you if you look at their rushing attempts per game, Saquon Barkley in his career has averaged way more runs per game than Miles Sanders. Because he's probably been per game played because he obviously has been injured and missed time and stuff like that.
I think you'd be a little surprised. I'm just looking at this year, the last couple.
Like I said, I'm going off of just my eye test and my guess here.
So Saquon, this season is the most Saquon has ever gotten the ball. Last year he got the ball 162 attempts. The year before that, 19 when he got the serious injury. 217 the year before that, 261 in 2018 his rookie year. He's got 295 this year, but spread out. Like if you go down the last couple weeks, Phil, he had 9 carries against Minnesota, 12 against the Colts, 14 against the Vikings, 9 against the Eagles on December 11th, 11 against the Cowboys on November 24th. He's got one in there with 35 carries for 152 and a touchdown.
You'll never see that with Miles Sanders, though.
No, but I don't think you see it often with the Giants and Saquon as much as you would think.
Okay, all right. Maybe I'm a little off on that then, but it just feels like Saquon is that guy that's touching the ball 25 times a game on a regular. At least early before his injury, it kind of felt like he was touching the ball a lot. But still, I would still take Miles Sanders. I remember I was still watching college football when Miles, at least a little bit, when Miles Sanders took over for him at Penn State, and I just saw more bounce, more flash, more more athleticism from him. Saquon Barkley, more of a powerish runner. I don't know, but maybe there's a little homerish because he's with the Giants as well. That I have a little distaste for him. And he's had a very low rushing attempts the last couple games because it feels like everyone's buying into this Daniel Jones hype.
It's wild.
I mean, people are nicknaming him the White Vic, and people are talking about the contract he's going to get in the offseason. I'm pretty sure 2 years ago he threw 10 touchdown passes for the season, and I'm pretty sure last year was 11. I think he only had 15 touchdown passes. So you're telling me going from 11 touchdown passes to 15 touchdown passes in a season is enough to anoint this guy a stud quarterback? Well, at this point, Chris Sims will probably put him in his top 10 quarterback list next year, the way they're being hyped up. Is there any bit in your mind that you are fearful of Daniel Jones this week? Because I almost am so not scared of him that I'm scared that I'm being way too overconfident here.
Oh, my God. I can't wait for this matchup just to put everything to bed. Daniel Jones has Daniel
Jones stinks. I think that's it.
Yeah. Daniel Jones has really improved this year under Brian Daboll. Yeah. The turnovers were down. He threw the least amount of interceptions for a starting quarterback this season. His completion percentage went up this season to over 67%. He got over 3,000 passing yards for the first time since his rookie year. He threw for 3,200 yards. He threw 15 touchdowns, Phil.
That's a lot of touchdowns. People are complaining that Jalen Hurts didn't throw enough touchdowns. What did he throw? 20-some. But yet Daniel Jones has 15, and he's the next big deal.
He looked okay this year. He looked good at times. Really, like last week was a really good game. The Christmas Eve game was a really good game. Outside of that, he's looked okay this year. And if that's what you want to ride with, New York, like in New York market, if that's what you want to have as your long-term future franchise quarterback from an Eagles fan, please have the hell at it.
To me, it's kind of a funny situation because I look at it, I compare what Daniel Jones did this year. He showed some glimpses of improvement, which is what Jalen Hurts did last year. And everyone in Philly was ready to ride Jalen Hurts out of town.
Right.
You know what I mean? We weren't ready to anoint him anything. He made the playoffs. We lost to the Buccaneers. He had glimpses, good games at times last year, struggled at times, pretty similar to Daniel Jones. And all of a sudden the Giants are, the Giants fans, the Giants organization. I mean, I think the Giants organization aren't as set as we think on Daniel Jones. I think they're kind of backed into the corner and kind of don't have many options there. But on the flip side, Giants fans think that this guy, he's got. Honestly, I'm more fearful of him running the football than I am passing the football.
No, I'm trying to go back for a second because it's making me think, and I brought this up to Scotty the other week or last
Great
week.
point by Mark here. The Dabble Hurts connection, my man. It's something that won't go away now because Dabble's the coach in New York for the next foreseeable future. This Dabble Hurts rivalry will go on for a very long time.
For sure. I'm just back on the Giants schedule because it made me think like Daniel Jones, if he was this great franchise altering quarterback, I wanted to know who New York beat because I'm thinking inner division. You're 0-2 versus the Eagles this year. You got swept by the Cowboys this year, and you went 0-1 against the Washington freaking Commanders this year. So who
high in our division? Ooh.
So who did you didn't they didn't come away with a win? They quite literally went 0-5-1 in the division this year.
How that makes the playoffs? I really have no idea.
Because they started. So you got Tennessee in week 1. They came away with that crazy win. They beat the Ravens with Lamar 24-20, and then they beat Jacksonville week 7. That is not this Jacksonville team. Clearly, that's when Jacksonville was in that downward trend after the Eagles took care of them a couple weeks prior. Who the hell did he beat? Like, why? What is this conversation we're even having? That he threw 15 passing touchdowns and beat you and me this year, Phil.
I don't know about me. Maybe you. You're younger. You're healthier. I don't know if he would beat me. He would definitely be beating me. If I was on the team.
I'm just like, God damn, man.
It's really frustrating. And I want to bring a little funny part into it because the Giants fan base is really buying into this Giants team.
I know.
Not just that they have a chance this week, that they have a chance to make a run. I see people tweeting that this is a better run than the Eli, wild card run.
07.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't remember if it was 07 or 08 there. Like, they're literally hyping it so much, and I want to bring a little funny joke into it. What's great about this and how much the Giants have, the Giants fan base is hyping up this team. We got what's crack-a-lacking down at Xfinity Live versus E-Rock. Did you see that whole thing? Because I really got a question for you because obviously what went down on Twitter between E-Rock and Xfinity Live, hilarious, great.
Crazy.
But the fact that people are bashing Xfinity Live for letting the Giants fans in, I'm a business owner. And there was that pizza shop that turned down, I forget which visiting baseball team's pizza order in the playoffs. And I said it then and I'll say it now. As a restaurant owner, if the Giants wanted to come to my pizza shop on Saturday before the game, I'd be locking the doors and letting every Giants football player in because that's a lot of money coming through my doors. Now, Xfinity's a little bit bigger than me.
Yeah.
But there's literally a massive buses of people from New York, the Giants fans, coming down to tailgate and watch the Eagles game here in Philly because you don't do that. You don't spend all your hard-earned money to come down to Philly and just watch a game at a bar, not even go into the game, just watch a game at a Philly bar, unless you think you really legitimately have a chance.
I'm back and forth with this. I hear you.
As a business owner, as a fan, I agree everything that everybody's saying as a fan. But as a business owner, I'm not turning away 200 fans that are going to come in and spend a boatload of money.
I agree, and I do not mean to come off as an asshole but you already said it. Xfinity don't like you. Fox's Den Pizza in Kennett Square. Fox's Pizza Den. Sorry.
You don't even know the name of your buddy. Thanks a lot, my man.
They would love the business. Xfinity don't need the business. Dude, they're going to sell. They're going to be at max capacity an hour and a half before the game full of Eagles fans. They charge $13 a drink, it feels like, every time you're there.
I haven't been there in 10 years because I hate that place so much.
I popped in before a Sixers game on like a Wednesday night like 2 weeks ago. Right, because the lots weren't even open yet. I went in for one drink, $11 for a draft.
Yeah.
Okay. Xfinity doesn't need that money, and to me, and again, Phil, it's also if this was another mainstream Philly bar, hell, 3 blocks away,
right?
I might be like, okay, you're in the epicenter of it all. You're in the stadium district. You're right next to it. And listen, I'm not condoning violence. I'm not saying that anything is right. But my point is, what this outcome is about to be. You're going to invite hundreds of Giants fans, where there's going to be hundreds or thousands,
tens of
Eagles fans
thousands,
drinking all day long
from 6 a.m. till 8
that
o'clock.
have now seen your social media back and forth, and you think everything's going to be rainbows and sunshines. You don't think nothing's going to go wrong there with drunk fans on both sides.
If I was, if I wasn't a business owner and just as a fan, and I was an Eagles fan going down to this game, I would make sure that every Eagles fan boycotts Xfinity Live.
Hell yeah!
Just let the 200 Giants fans in. Let them have the run of the whole place. Yeah. Let them lose their shirts Xfinity Live over this whole thing. And I don't know. Look, I don't know E-Rock personally. We've interacted on Twitter. I know he's a big deal with Eagles and Eagles faithful down at the tailgates and stuff. And so I don't know what the back and forth between them. I don't know how much of it's true and not true.
Right.
Obviously, whatever. I just know my experiences at Xfinity suck. That's why we don't go there. But I would just shut them out. Just screw them over. Yeah. Let them lose their shirts this weekend. And you bring up the great point. You're going to have 10 hours worth of tailgating happening. Yeah. And before this whole situation started, we've been talking this week on this show about the hours and hours of tailgating. The NFL really screwed the pooch with the whole 8:15 Eagles game because the tailgating is going to be long. I personally probably couldn't even handle 10 hours of tailgating anymore at my old age. But you really, really are setting yourself up for this whole Philadelphia fan awful narrative. It's almost like this whole thing is a setup to get a bad image on Philly fans again.
And listen, and I'm not saying it to push that narrative. That narrative is BS. You and I talk about it all the time when you look at other ballparks and stadiums around the. One dude got thrown over an overpass in like Vegas or something like 2 months ago. Like shit's crazy. I'm talking from both fan bases, from both standpoints, drinking for that long, knowing the back and forth on this social media thing now. It's not, you're not talking like we're in, like, I don't know, like you're a Manayunk, dude. Like there's a Manayunk bar that's inviting a bunch of Giants fans down for their tailgate. You're talking there next to it all. You're talking so many people. My friends do it. My friends go to the tailgates without tickets. They don't go to the game. They go tailgate all day, and then they'll either go home to another bar or they'll go into Xfinity if they can get in. So you're talking all these dudes right next to it, probably seeing these busloads of Giants fans roll in drunk all day, and you think they're going to be shoulder to shoulder with each other watching this game.
By the best tailgate lots too. Yeah. The best parking lots to tailgate in are right next to Xfinity. Yes. So you're going to have 8-10 hours of drunk ass Eagles fans.
I'm telling you now, it's a disaster waiting to happen.
I'm just going to say now. I know like 50 people watch this show, maybe 100 people. Yo, if you're going down, let's put our. You know what? Go down and shake every Giants fan. Say hi, and just, like be reverse psychology. Like start shit. Let them be the ones that start it. I mean, we'll still get blamed for it, but let them start the problem.
I went to PJ's last night, and I had an Eagles hoodie on, and I'm walking down the steps from the parking lot to go in. And this dude, suit and tie, so I don't know what his fan affiliation is. He just walks by me, dead face, like doesn't stop to talk, just keeps walking. He goes, Giants are going to kick your ass this weekend, and just keeps walking. And I said, yeah, okay. Like, effort sneak attack.
But I want to get back to this Eagles game in a second. But one other thing that is not related, but kind of related. All these people are going to be down there tailgating, and people want tickets to this game. Can we spend like 2 or 3 minutes just talking about how awful the ticket prices have gotten out of hand for this game? I would love to go. An 8:15 game, I wouldn't be able to tailgate all day, but with the pizza shop, I can leave the pizza shop at 6:30 and run down and get to the game and have a good time. But man, I don't know about you, young, single, no, not single, but young, not married, no kids, discretionary income there. Mm-hmm. But man, $1,300, $1,500. I see on Facebook every day, every Eagles Facebook group, people selling tickets for $1,200, $1,400 to this game. And even immediately after tickets went on sale, $700, $800, $900 a pop. Have ticket prices and the secondary market really gotten out of control, haven't they?
It's ridiculous. And it's KC's point right here. Exactly. It's location. Phil, I wanted to, my cousin has season tickets. That's, the Seattle playoff game, the last home playoff game we had. I went to it in 2019. I'm not gonna lie, the seats suck. You're all the way. I'm row 29 up top in the corner of the end zone on the right sideline. So diagonal from you across the field, you can't see nothing. And I wish people. Let me ask you: would you rather watch a football game at the stadium or at home?
At home.
Me too. And I think that's
And
what
that's
a lot
not,
of people.
that's not just a playoff game. That's
Everything.
any.
The
I was
viewing
in the run-
the viewing
so back
pleasure
when
is
the
so
Eagles
much
went-
greater.
When the Eagles went to the Super Bowl back in 17, 18, I was in the final 3-4 running to win 2 Super Bowl tickets that year. And it was a fantasy contest, year-long thing, and I was in the finals, and I literally finished like 4 points away from winning these 2 Super Bowl tickets. When we went to that final week of the fantasy contest to win those tickets, I had already been shopping around my tickets. Because, no offense to the Super Bowl, I mean, it's Super Bowl, but the amount of money you could sell tickets to playoff games, and this is 5-6 years ago, it's gotten even more out of control. And everything happened with the Taylor Swift concert and Bruce Springsteen tickets, earlier this year or late last year. And it's getting out of control that fans can't afford to go to their actual team's games or their fans of concerts and musicians, because I remember back before everything was online, having to go wait in line at Ticketmaster offices around Delaware and Chester County, and you got your tickets and you got them in line, and that was it. There was no online bots buying tickets. And I remember standing in line for 12 hours to get as close to the front row for Billy Joel one year that I could get. And I literally stood in line in Westchester. There was one right where the Rat used to be. I don't know what's there now, right on the corner of, the Main Street there, High Street in Westchester. There used to be a Ticketmaster place there. And we went to the Rat, left the Rat at close at 2 a.m., and sat outside of that ticket office waiting. And I was third in line. And I still didn't get first row tickets. But that was the way you did it back then. And you got your tickets at face value. It's insane.
I would not. I'm being serious. For those seats up there, like those, like we're talking $1,200-$1,300. Those are for the row 30 up top, row 20 up top,
Absolutely.
right? I wouldn't pay $700 for those seats. Listen, the atmosphere is, if you're paying for the atmosphere, you're going, you're tailgating all day long. You just want to be in that atmosphere. That's great. I love it too. I like to do it once a year. I love to see the game and be honed in and pay attention as well. And if I'm trying to be honest, like I know people are like, what do you mean you can't? If you're sitting in the seats that I normally sit in, you can't tell if someone picks up a first down from that vantage point.
No.
You're going off of like sound and here, like you have no idea what's going on.
No offense, that atmosphere is great. I've been to plenty of Eagles games, Phillies games. I've been to plenty of sporting events in general. I have more fun with 5 or 6 of my best friends sitting around a TV, watching a game, not even in a bar where it gets out of control. On my couch, I mean, with the way high definition TVs are, with the way the internet is and social media and everything else, and the cost of just hell, $1,200 a ticket, that pays somebody's rent. That pays your mortgage for a month, or some people's mortgage for a month. There's a lot of better things you could do with that money. But I think that the point of me bringing it up was, I think the leagues and the musicians and stuff need to do something to control how out of control it's gotten.
I think the only way you could possibly do that is by getting the initial sale off of a resale site like Ticketmaster and them. I don't know how you figure that out.
I don't know, but it's gotten out of control.
As organizations, but
it's unfair. I really, truly unfair,
that's
because
the problem.
I think there's a lot of people that would want to go to this game that can't.
Yeah.
Because they can't afford to go to it.
Think about the Phillies. We just had this conversation with the Phillies World Series run.
I don't want to say tickets have to be $50.
No.
But what I'm saying is, you can't expect the people that support this team, the people in the poor towns or the not as wealthy income towns, can't afford $500, $700, $800 tickets, let alone $1,200 tickets. So something's got to be done. It's like the Super Bowl. When you watch the Super Bowl, how many actual fans are in the stadium?
Right.
Like real fans. Not many.
No.
Because
celebrities are all over the place. Business people, CEOs have boxes and everything like that. And this is perfect. I wish I could do the same thing. Just automatically be home after a day like that. But
yeah, absolutely.
Like, go back to the Phillies run, man. And that's the craziest part to me about some of these prices, guys. Like, they're getting away with it. Clearly, the link's going to be sold out. People are going to make a fortune off of these resale tickets. The Phillies hadn't been in the postseason for over a decade.
Yeah,
that's why some prices were so high, and those prices didn't even come close to these. Like, dude, if you wanted to sit,
I think
if
you
you
dropped
wanted to
like
look at lower level in the World Series,
Yeah, it was
you
like
were
250.
spending probably like $1,000 or $1,500. We're talking divisional round all the way up top over that for one ticket at the Eagles game. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, I've wanted all week to bitch about that, and I just thought that was a perfect opportunity to drop that in since we're talking tailgating and Xfinity and all. Because I would love to go. And my wife always tells me whenever I say I would love to go to something, she's like, "Well, just buy tickets, whatever." And I'm like, I just can't justify spending. I honestly, I would not even spend $500 to go to the game. I wouldn't, because I still know how much money I'm going to drop tailgating, how much money I'm going to drop parking
inside there.
Yeah, then I'm going to sit 3 hours in the parking lot after the game trying to get out.
Right. You're talking by yourself. If you have a $500 ticket, you're talking over $700 that day.
Absolutely. It's a $700. It's a couple $100 experience just to go.
That better guarantee I'm seeing a victory. By the way,
absolutely.
Can I bring up one point to you, which is I just thought about this as we're sitting here talking, and we're kind of not nonchalant, but we're talking about other stuff.
In your head.
Yeah.
That's 5 times.
Mm-hmm. I snuck 2 in. Think about just how in a year's time, Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni and this Eagles team has changed. Now, what do I mean by that? We are just one day away from the 1 seed home divisional round playoff game. And we are not relaxed, but we're confident. It's all business. Tomorrow, we're going to talk strictly game. We're ready. We think they can win. I remember doing the pregame show last year with Scotty and having people jump on. And it was just this fanny, hopeful, let's try, like just hurrah type, we're happy to be here type of moment. It's so crazy to me how the demeanor has changed from happy to be here, let's do a fun pregame show because they're back in the playoffs, to business.
What do we have to do to get this game over with healthy on to next week? That's what it's at. It's interesting you bring that up because I just read an article a few minutes before the show went live. I believe it was by Ed Kratz, and it was talking about practice and but the whole point of the article was talking about how Sirianni's gone from this criticized guy for his cliche things, how last year it was Flowers, this year it's Pizza Hut, criticizing his practice routines. The whole Pizza Hut thing, right?
But it's
now we're looking at it as we look back on the season that we can't criticize him because what he's doing is working. Like the narrative of Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni, even in the last 8 weeks, has changed so much.
I'll say the only difference in that, and I love the Pizza Hut thing. The only difference in that is the flower thing, the T-shirt gate, all that shit last year. We criticized that. National people did too, but Philly fans were ripping him apart for the most part. This Pizza Hut thing is like, for some reason, Giants fans and media are pissed off that he was eating Pizza Hut.
Yeah, we spent about 15 minutes talking Pizza Hut on Tuesday's show because it was so hilarious.
How do you feel about Pizza Hut? Overrated, underrated?
When I was a kid, I just pretended to read books to get my little stand-up.
Do you remember the old school Pizza Huts when they had the salad bars?
There was one 5 minutes from my house growing up. That was a fancy Friday night dinner out.
That was a staple. Yeah,
that was the upper end. Like when that was the high end dining. The 5-star dining was the Bennigan's. The 4-star dining was the Pizza Hut. The little plastic red cups, the carpet.
Somebody the glass windows that went up on a.
Somebody was always vacuuming a carpet somewhere in a Pizza Hut.
Mm-hmm.
That was my thing. Now I look back on it was probably pretty crappy pizza. But.
That's where they go in the bench warmers, right?
yeah, that's right. I forgot about that show. All right, let's get back to this game here. All right. Keys to victory. Obviously, you guys are doing pregame show tomorrow. I'll try to jump on if I can. So I'm going to give my prediction how it plays out. But if you had to say these two things absolutely without a doubt have to happen, or the Eagles have a chance. I'm not saying are going to lose, have a chance to lose this game. What two things would you say absolutely have to happen?
Discipline and time of possession.
Okay.
I already discussed time of possession. It's been the one, not Achilles heel, but it's been the one thing to hold that seems like a common denominator with this Eagles team, the Saints game, the Washington game, I believe the Bears game, even that's at one point, the time of possession was lopsided. The Colts game, it's been the one thing where this offense cannot get into a flow. And even if they're only down 3-0 or 7-0, it feels like Sirianni's scratching and clawing and trying to figure out a way to push the ball down the field when he doesn't necessarily need to, right? Discipline. This is everything. This is turnovers. This is self-inflicted mistakes. This is offensive line penalties. It encompasses all of that stuff. Go back to the Washington game. Go back to their first real loss of the season, right? Their only real loss of the season.
Right.
All the penalties, the 4 turnovers, the way the game ended with the rough and the passer, all that's self-inflicted discipline mistakes. That's what it comes down to. Go back to the Saints. All the offensive line miscues, the false starts, the illegal men downfield, the turnover, all that stuff. Because I say that because it's the only way a lesser talented team like the Giants can hang around and actually win this game late in the fourth quarter is if you allow them to hang around with self-inflicted mistakes.
Yeah. All right. So the number one thing was also time of possession for me. That's my number one thing. If they lose the time of possession, it doesn't mean they're going to lose the game.
No,
but we're in for a battle if we lose that. It's that, giving up, whether it's the first drive of the game, which it feels like it's been multiple times this year, or anywhere, because I think we've had a few mid games throughout the season, those 8-9 minute drives that we give up to the opposing team. Because even if we win the game, and we've won some games where we've given up those 8-9 minute drives, but it feels like when your defense gives up that 8-9 minute drive, especially to start the game, like against the Saints, it feels like it sucks the energy out of the team, 100%. Sucks the energy out of the fan base. That crowd is going to be – we've talked about the crowd for 15 minutes. That crowd is fired up, and if the Giants get the ball first and spend 9 minutes marching down the field, 15-play drive, it just sucks the energy out of you. And it's hard to get that back. It doesn't matter how much more talented you are than your opposing team. It's hard to get that momentum back, for sure. So time of possession, but it's more so when I say time of possession, it's not letting that Giants offense get any momentum by having a slow method. They don't have anybody that's going to beat you for a 50, 60-yard touchdown pass. I don't even know if Daniel Jones is capable of throwing the ball 50 yards down the field. But they do have the capability to nickel and dime down the field and do that if you let them. So time of possession, yes, but more so those long sustained drives, getting off the field on third down, not giving up a 3rd and 20 or 3rd and 30 to extend a drive that shouldn't. Those are the things that win you that time of possession, but also keep the momentum on your side. So that's my number one key to the game. And I know it's not going to happen, but in my mind, if I'm Nick Sirianni and we win the coin toss, I'm getting the ball first because our defense has shown the propensity to give up those long drives to start a game. So you get the ball first, you get the momentum first, and then the defense comes out. Maybe the defense is a little bit more fired up if Jalen Hurts scores a touchdown right off the bat. So, that's my number one key to the game. Go ahead.
I was going to say one more thing based off of getting the ball first. Run the ball, Nick.
Yeah, run it.
Run the ball off the jump.
Well, that's key number 2 actually to me.
Okay.
Right there. It's run the ball, but it's the vision of the running the football. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Jalen Hurts, he needs to be the reins need to be taken off. I don't care about the shoulder. I'm concerned. I don't know about you, but the videos I saw of the practice drill the other day and how cautious they were, I'm still concerned that they're playing this like a Flyers injury and he's more hurt than he is. He's going to play. There's no doubt about it. But how hurt is he really? I need them to show that Jalen Hurts is healthy enough. Let him run the ball once or twice in the first quarter. But I need to see. I don't want to see 15 Miles Sanders runs to 12 Jalen Hurts runs.
Right.
I need to see 20 Miles Sanders runs to 5 Jalen Hurts runs. You know what I mean? 20 Miles Sanders, 5 from the giant killer Boston Scott, 5 from Kenneth Gainwell, 30 rushes to 5 rushes from Jalen Hurts, and maybe 20 or 30 passes. I need to see a little taste of Jalen Hurts, and that opens up Miles Sanders, and then you keep feeding Miles Sanders the ball. No knee brace in practice this week for Miles Sanders. I've tried to talk about as much as possible because everyone's focused on Hurts' injury, Lane Johnson's injury, Avonte Maddox, who won't be back. But I think the Miles Sanders injury is underappreciated on how serious of a difference it makes our team. And I think it's skated under the radar a little too much. And him having no knee brace is huge going into this game.
Yeah, I agree. And I spoke with Paul Hembakidis yesterday, and he kind of alluded to the fact that he was a little more wary of the Miles Sanders knee injury, as if there might be a little bit more there. But then I brought up the knee brace point, because why would you take it off the week of the playoff game if it's a more serious matter?
If you're gonna wear it, you're gonna wear it in practice, not the game.
To get used to it.
Protect it in practice.
Right, and to get used to the
If you want
brace.
to take it off in the game, that's fine. But if you're going to wear it in the game, you're definitely wearing it in practice.
Yeah, I
You're not going
agree.
to let it get worse in practice. So him running freely in practice was such a big confidence boost to me. But you got to get him the ball. You got to let him run the ball. He wants to be here. He wants that big paycheck. Dude, I don't know if he stays here next year or not. That's a story.
Wants to be here, apparently.
He wants to be here. But if I'm Howie and I'm Nick Sirianni, I'm running him to the ground. This playoffs. I'm going to get every ounce of him, and then we'll see what we pay him in the offseason.
So
that's
your Jalen Hurts point is everything here. And it's interesting. It's weird how I feel about this, because I almost feel like you can you can't run the same vanilla scheme you ran in week 18 against New York, clearly. But I feel like you can limit, like you said, the design plays, the RPO, the read options to allow him to take unnecessary hits and kind of survive this week without having to dive into the full playbook and get him exposed like that. Mm-hmm. But I also kind of want to see it, because I want to know that, because the only way, quite frankly, Phil, that the Eagles are making a Super Bowl run is if Jalen Hurts can run the offense to its fullest extent, as they were in the middle of this season. Because if not, and they're limited in what they can do, not that they don't have a chance, but it greatly depreciates what this team and what this offense can accomplish. So I'm at this weird intercross where I don't think you need to do it too much this week, because you can still get by without it. But I want to know that he's able to moving forward at the same time.
See, the thing is, like, they ran a vanilla offense in week 18 against them, and they barely won. But Jalen Hurts is still really banged up. He's supposed to be a couple steps further to being as healthy as possible. You can run somewhere in between that vanilla offense and a preseason offense, and in between what they've done all year long, somewhere in the middle where you let the reins off, you build up a lead, and then you get very cautious in the second half as you've built that lead up. Just milk the clock and run the ball. And again, this Giants.
See Gardner Minshew in the fourth quarter?
I would love to see Gardner Minshew in the fourth quarter. It would make my day if it's because we're up big. So my prediction, I mean, I don't know, you could save your prediction for pregame tomorrow if you want, but I got the Eagles winning 31-20. And I don't think it's that close. I think we're up big, 27-10, 31-10, something like that. Our defense has been known to give up some late scores as they back off, on the pedal. I don't think there's a match. It's a match between the Eagles and the Giants this week. I really don't. I think this is the end of the line, the end of the momentum, under Brian Daboll's success this year. I'm scared of the Giants going forward, in the future, as they continue to build. I didn't think they'd make the playoffs this year, but I thought they'd be better. So I'm fearful of the organization going forward, but their run ends right here, in my opinion.
So I don't have my score prediction yet. I will save that for tomorrow. I have not come up with that, but I have said it out loud. I've said it on social media. I've said it on multiple shows throughout this week. So I'll give my prediction right now. The Eagles are not losing this game. There is not a feasible possible outcome that is going to happen. And I agree with you. I ultimately don't think the final score is all that close. You said that the Giants' momentum comes to an end this week. It comes to an end because there was no momentum to begin with, Philip.
Absolutely.
There was no momentum. This hot team, this streaky team that just beat a big win in Minnesota. It's all, as Mark said up top, Fugazi. Fugazi quarterback, Fugazi team, Fugazi momentum. This is not going to be all that close. It's not going to be 48-22. I don't think Jalen's shoulder can put up 48 this week. Hopefully I'm wrong. But I think in terms of how it's just not a ball game, how maybe it's like I like your 31 number, 31-20, 34-21, somewhere in that ballpark.
I see, because you don't want to risk Hurts too much. You do want him to go full bore. This is going to be one of those games. There's a couple games earlier this year where we had multiple running backs with multiple touchdowns. This is a game where you're going to see Miles Sanders score and Boston Scott score, or Miles Sanders, Kenneth Gainwell, and Jalen Hurts all get in for the touchdown. Real quick before we wrap this show up, I do want to give my other predictions. I got Kansas City. Also, the momentum ends for Jacksonville, Doug Peterson. I think that game actually turns out to be pretty close. I've got 37-31. I think, again, the Chiefs, like the Chargers, jump out to a big lead on the Jags. They try to come back to Jags, but just fall a little short.
No dice.
Run out. And next year, Jags, with adding Calvin Ridley and another year in that system, the Jags will be a really good team next year. So I got 37-31 Chiefs. Like it or dislike it?
Like it. I'm on board.
Yeah, with the close game. The Bills-Bengals game also, I think, will be super close. I got the Bills beating the Bengals this time, 34-30. Not because of DeMar Hamlin and that momentum. I just think at some point the Bengals, they're not going to make the Super Bowl every single year. The Bills are eventually going to make a run. And I know it sounds chalky to pick KC and Buffalo, the 1-2 seat there. But I think the Bills just got a little bit too much momentum right now. And I think the Bills win that game. Like it or disagree?
I got the Bengals in this one, and I'll give my explanation as to why. You mentioned you don't think they get to the Super Bowl. They're not getting to the Super Bowl. If that's a little glimpse for you, but they win this game against Buffalo.
Okay. And then the final game, Cowboys versus 49ers. I might have made this prediction just because I hate the 49ers because my brother's a fake Fugazi 49ers fan. I picked the Cowboys to end the Brock Purdy hype train. This Brock Purdy, Tom Brady comparison, he ain't no Tom Brady. And with all the talent they have, and I just really want the Eagles to have to beat the Cowboys. I
know.
I really want the Eagles to just smash the Cowboys next week and use that to get to the Super Bowl. It would just, I mean, it would break my heart if they lost to the Cowboys,
right?
In the championship game. But I just want that Eagles Cowboys championship game so bad that I've got the Cowboys beating the 49ers 27-24 so I got 3 really close games, and then the Eagles blowing out the Giants. Do the Cowboys have a chance against the 49ers Sunday?
They do have a chance. The fan in me wants that. The fan in me wants Giants Cowboys on the road to the Super Bowl.
I really think that was part of how I came to that. I might be totally off base there.
I'll tell you one thing that is a problem for Dallas. I know he just had the best game of his season last week against Tampa Bay on the road. It was a great performance. The fact that I'm questioning which quarterback protects the football and one is starting like his 5th game of his career, that's a problem. And one's $160 million QB. That's a problem for me. I just question. We're going to learn which defense is legit this week. That's my point. Phil, I think this game's lopsided one way or the other. I know that sounds crazy. I don't think this is a close game.
So you want to know something? Because I always write down my predictions and then I adjust them throughout the week. Then I adjust them through the show. Early this week when I started my first predictions, all my scores were pretty much spot on. And I picked the Eagles, KC, and Buffalo right from the get-go this week. And like I had the Eagles 27-20, then 34-21, and I settled on 31-20. Okay. But originally earlier this week, my first prediction was 49ers 35, Cowboys 24. And so I had the 49ers blowing the Cowboys out by double digits, but then, just my sneaky feeling or my desire to see the Cowboys lose to the Eagles in the championship game kind of overtook that, and my brother's love of the 49ers overtook that. So.
Because here's why. I think one defense gets exposed. I don't foresee with these two defenses, obviously the Niners being up here right now for me and the Cowboys being a tier lower. So I don't view this as a shootout with these two great defenses. Like this is not going to be 35-31 for my money. I also don't think it's going to be 17-14. So to me, which defense gets exposed? We did see some holes with the final 2 weeks of the regular season with San Francisco's defense. We know what this Cowboys offense can put up like they did on Monday night. Can they do that again? Or can Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk expose that pass rush for the Dallas Cowboys? One way or the other, I think this game's lopsided.
Okay. All right. That's good. All right. So what's crack-a-lacking here on DSM Media this weekend? Obviously, you got your Hembo and your Connor Thompson interviews dropping later today. When are they dropping? They
will be dropping around 5 p.m. tonight. I'm going to put that video together. It's just Eagles-Giants preview with two of the best in their respective biz. So that'll be dropping on the YouTube page. Obviously, we'll tweet out the link at DSM_media later.
That is why you like, you subscribe, and you turn the notifications 100%. On. That way you never miss a second of it.
And then tomorrow, Scotty and I will be live in the AM with Turf Talk to get the whole divisional round broken down for you. And I'll tell you a little bit. I'll expand on my reasonings for my Picksville.
Yep.
And then I believe we're pre-recording Eagles pregame live, so it's
'Cause
not
if
live.
if you try to go live at about 6:30, 7 o'clock, an hour before the game,
It's not going to go too well.
It would be a disaster.
It's not going to go too
It'd be a
well.
disaster. Just call it what it is. Call a spade a spade. It would be a disaster.
Just like
You would be definitely crack-a-lacking a lot on that show.
just like Xfinity's a disaster. It would be the same thing here on the pregame show. So if you guys are trying to comment and we're not answering any of them, that's because we are not live tomorrow.
That's that. There you go. But again, make sure you like and subscribe to the DSM Media YouTube page. Follow DSM on all social media platforms. We greatly appreciate it. We ran out of time. No Sixers talk. Eventually, next week, or maybe 3 weeks from now. Hey, the bye week in between the championship and the Super Bowl. We'll talk Sixers then. I mean, we'll still probably talk Eagles a lot that week as we prep for the Super Bowl. But see, I'm confident there. I'm crack-a-lacking a lot this morning as well. We're going to wrap up Training the AM. We'll be back next week. Actually, Monday's show of Training the AM. I'm not sure what we're going to do. It's either going to be pre-recorded live Sunday night, or we might just do, like we did last week, a Trending in the AM in the PM live on Sunday night, and then just let it run all day on Monday. Got a lot of early work on Monday at the pizza shop. But everybody have a great weekend. Let's go Birds. Let's just smoke the Giants. Let's just take care of business, not even let it be a conversation. I want to be 10 o'clock on Saturday night and just be
recliner
out, drink in hand, gummy in, ready to roll and have a great night. So everybody have a great night. Everybody have a great week, and we'll be back next week. Stay locked into DSM Media all weekend for all your Eagles and football and Sixers and everything else coverage. For Dylan Davis, I'm Phil Stiefel. Go Birds.
Go Birds.
And Philadelphia has it.